You're all here, and we will get started in just a moment. I think there are a couple more people will probably come into the room, but we need to be in the room first. So as usual, we're going to take some breaths and get centered because there is a lot of energy going on today in the world and here. And so we need to be present in the room. So big breath. And as you take the breath, hold it for just a bit. Slowly let it go. Another big breath. Feel your body release and relax slowly down. Decide to become present. And one more. Become present. We're ready to begin. And again, we're so pleased you're here, and we've waited for you your entire lives. And today you will understand that on a deeper level, which is why we specifically plan this event for this day, because tomorrow there's a new event coming and you each will be moved in a new way. And so we wanted to prepare you for this. See, because Roger has had the information for a while, and we told him we want you to do it the day before the major event happens in your world, so you'll provide everyone with a bit more comfort, because you're a little concerned right now. You're a little fearful, and you've been that way for a while, but we're going to tell you, as we said in our message this morning, that the fear was necessary, but also unwarranted. You had to have the fear so that you would start to move. And where you were moving is into yourself, into accepting who you are. We've told you all of this. We've given you all of this. The reason we have the message on the board, that's from your life operating instructions. And we continually speak on that because it is something that Roger had this disbelief about. Each of you have had this disbelief. You've been given something before you were born. You were implanted with something that you were meant to actualize in the world now that would help your world evolve and move through this particular restructuring. But this is different. None of you have experienced this, so of course it would feel really out of balance for you, really strange and uncertain. But that's what you wanted. This is why we gave you the message. How did we know you would be experiencing this today? We orchestrate all of these things. Last night, we told Roger to go and find a message that we wanted him to use today. He didn't know why. He didn't know which one. He didn't even know why we were saying to plan a talk for this day with this particular title. Your new life is about to begin. It will begin if you decide that you will own it. That's all. You're each walking in your life purpose. The other day, we told Roger we wanted him to change his site to say that. We want each of you to understand you are walking in your life purpose, but you've been judging it, denying it, and putting it away. But that was purposeful as well. See, because you couldn't understand how powerful you were now unless you had done that. And your power, your essence, your abilities, your gifts are all needed now to shift the trajectory of your world so that you create something new. We told you that the world that you want to see is not guaranteed. And you're sitting right now in this time in human history where you have an opportunity. And that opportunity, as we said this morning, it seems like you're in a stalemate. You're sitting back and it's being orchestrated and played out in your world vividly. Well, you have Russia and you have the United States or NATO. But we told you in August of 2020, we told you all of this. We said that you would see that and the United States would lead the way, but you're not there yet. And not being there yet means that if you were to change your mind in this instant, if you were to change your mind in this instant and decide, wow, I'm really valuable, I'm really worth something, that energy would permeate your world. You would see things start to change. That's the one that you all have trouble believing. You don't think you're that powerful. You don't believe you have that much power within you. And we keep telling you, yes, you do. You just haven't understood where it was. You didn't understand that your power was within you, in your thoughts, in what you put out energetically. We've said that to you. When we gave you, we're going back to your life operating instructions, because again, this is something that none of you can understand, that we gave you something then that could help you live your lives in a better way. And we keep continually talking about it because Roger didn't believe that. He didn't believe it until he had to go back and do it himself. He didn't believe it until he reviewed it all and saw what it was. And he questioned, how could I have been given this? And it's so valuable because now I own myself more. Now I know who I am. How come I didn't know that? And we said, you all have done that. Each of you have done that. Before you were born, you had very specific things that you wanted to work through in your evolutionary journey. There's some part of you that has not been fulfilled or actualized, and that's why you're here. And all the events of your world are giving you the opportunity to choose who you want to be. You're not going to be like anyone else, and you're not meant to be. But that is the major difficulty that each of you have had. Now we're speaking to all of you, those of you who are in the room, because we know many of you will hear this later. It will not matter. You will hear it at the right time for you. You've never been in an accidental place. You've never had an accidental experience or a random one. You just come to understand them later. As we told Roger, he saw something we gave him years ago that he didn't understand until last night. And we said, the more you know, the less you understand. You see, that's what you're here. Because when you think you know something, then you don't open your consciousness, your awareness to seeing anything else. And so how could you possibly think that you are valuable? How could you possibly know your value? In our program, why do you think we keep going through having you look at what you've done so that you could recognize and own your value? And the reason we're speaking about this, and let's talk about money, because the shift that we've talked about, this restructuring of your world, is a movement of wealth and income inequality. We've told you that for a while. However, we've also told you, and if you were to look through our messages, actually, we told Roger we want him to do a program on money because it would help you all in this time. It would really help you now because, see, it doesn't mean anything. Money means nothing. It has no value of its own, none. And that's logically, you can think about that and you know that. You could take the money, your particular currency of your country, and you go to another country, a foreign country, they know nothing about you, and you say, I want to buy some stuff. Here's my money. They look at you and they go, this means nothing. So now where's that value gone? We want you to understand, because we're going to keep talking about this, because the shift of the money and the income inequality is about energy, you see. The money itself doesn't have any quality, any value. It has energy. And you each hold that energy, but you haven't given it to yourselves. And especially those of you who do good in the world, who want to help others. You have not put the value on that because it's who you are. See, you were born in with these abilities. We gave a message. We had Roger go back to a 1989 message because each of you this will resonate for each of you. We said to him, you don't understand the benevolent nature of your being and how valuable that is, how helpful you could be for all of humankind if you were able to own that. We're saying that because each of you have that going on. You have that going on to some degree, otherwise you wouldn't be listening to us. You each will find places where you will find yourself attracted there because of something that your higher self wanted you to hear, because you keep ignoring them sometimes, because that's what Roger did with us, you see. He just ignored us. He thought he could just not, maybe I can put this away. And there are certain places in your life where you will see where you've done that. We've had you go through that in our program. He did not understand why we were having you do that until it was done. We're saying that because each of you have that within you. Some of you are doing work. You've been doing this work forever. It felt to you like forever, and it's not going anywhere, and you thought, it's not really what I wanted, but why am I keep doing it? I have to keep doing it. You're doing that because you meant to actualize it now. We wanted you to hear that. You thought that maybe I should change, maybe I should do something different. No, you were supposed to figure out the perfection of that and then offer it to the world now, because that helps your world evolve. Then there are others who have had certain things that you couldn't quite understand the value of it, but you kept working on it for some reason. You kept going there. You were supposed to do that. All of you. We'll tell you why. Because we needed you. The world needed you. We needed something different. But you said, no, I'm too strange. No, I'm too different. The thing that I'm doing is not going to have any value. And we're saying this because each of you, we want you to hear this. We've given it to you. We've given you a path to figure this out. We've told you that our program is about self-actualization. Self-actualization, we never tell you what to do. You've seen that. You're answering questions, and some of you have done it, you know. You're answering questions, and all of a sudden, this awareness comes to you. How did that happen? It's because we are speaking to your higher self. We've known that, and everything is orchestrated and put in place. The divine plan of your world is happening now. Now, even though you're seeing what looks to many of you like it might be destroyed, your world might go away. No, it's not going to do that, but you could make it worse. You could make the transition worse. And you each hold that power. We want you to hear that again, because you keep thinking somebody else has it, and it's not. You have it, you hold it, and it's coming through more. And you've seen that in the past 2 years, you've seen more of it coming through. And then some of you have said, why am I being moved to do this thing that I don't want to do? That I don't think I can do? It's not possible. Yes, it is. And you set that up. Each one of you set up in your life, in your trajectory, in your timeline, in your evolutionary journey, you set up these little things that you are going to encounter for the purpose of causing you to own yourself and love who you are. That's why you're here. And that's why we gave you the message this morning. We said, when you leave here, when you hear this message, you will end up loving yourself, because you never did anything wrong. You've just been judging yourself for not understanding what you had accepted. You each accepted roles to play in this world now to cause your world to become better. And you didn't understand why we said that you kept using the United States, you see. Roger never knew. We had him go back and find that the other night, because again, we orchestrate everything so that when he comes here, he has more information that he could give the rest of you. And so we had him go back and look at the messages that we gave you all, where he didn't understand why we were saying this. He didn't understand why we were saying these words, but we said the United States would lead the way. And why do we say that? Now he finds out, and he listens a few days ago, and he realizes, oh, the United States is relatively young. And in astrological sense, you're moving through a period, your Jupiter return, whatever you want to call it. But these are things that will indicate to you, because you have to use it in human terms, where you can see things in your galaxies and your skies and all of that. You see configurations, you think things changing. Everything is energy. Why would you think it didn't affect you? Why do you think it wouldn't cause you to be a little bit different? We had Roger speak to someone else the other night talking about this, and they said, well, why would you listen to astrology? Everything is connected. You each will make different distinctions about what you think is important, but everything is connected. Your world is connected. Everything in your world is of a physical nature. You are of the soul. You are of God. You are of spirit. You're eternal. These are things that you have not understood yet, but you will. And so we said in our program, we started with, and Roger didn't understand this. Now you have to understand, we gave it to him in 2012. He had no memory, no understanding that this happened. And he still is, it marvels when he goes back and reads the messages and go, how'd that come through? And I didn't know. We're saying this again because that's why you're here. That's why you're hearing us, because each of you has this within you, and you have just not believed it. You've doubted it. You've kept putting it away. But we're going to stay on you until you own it, because we know how important it is for you to actualize who you are. That's why we gave you self-actualization. And we told you it was going to happen at this time. You can look back historically and find the things that have happened in your world that would give reverence to this time. We said that in 2012, many of you believed that the world was going to end. We didn't. We said that wasn't happening, that you were just moving into a new world. here to usher in a new world, but in order to do that, you needed some time. And so that's why we told you in 2012. And then as you move through these years subsequent, you will see that you move through many things in your life. You had more disasters, you had more things that happened, but you healed. But you haven't really fully understood how you did that completely, because you don't always. That's how humans evolve. We told you in your life operating instructions, we said progression. You do it in increments, a little bit at a time. And we've made it very dramatic for Roger, just to show you, like he'll move through something, he'll open up to something, say, oh wow, did I know that? And then he'll have to talk to somebody else so he can ground it. And so he can feel like he's not crazy. We're saying that because you have done that. A lot of you have done that. You thought, well, maybe I'm a little off. Maybe I'm a little weird. No, you're not. You came to bring something new to the world, and it's valuable. And you purposefully set it up for this time in your world because it was going to be chaotic, and you knew that. And we've also told you that chaos always brings unity. Now, as you're looking at what's happening with the United States and Russia, and actually NATO, because it's all over the world, we told you the United States would lead the way. But you're wondering, well, why is the United States in the forefront right now? We told you that was going to happen. And we even told you why, but that's okay. You'll see now. So when you go through a period like this, we'll just put it in human terms of this Jupiter return. It's like when you release everything and start again. That's what's happening. And you have another period tomorrow. That's why we said we wanted to do today, because we need Roger to understand and accept that he receives information earlier than many. He couldn't do that. He couldn't accept that. We told him he was an old soul. He said, no. We told him he had ancient memory. He said, no. You each have done that. You've denied things that have come to you because you said, that couldn't be me. I couldn't be that important. And yes, it is. And you each have had this idea of the Christ consciousness. You've had it. You thought, no, that couldn't be me. No, that's the second coming of someone else. And we say, how can you still hold on to that? Every one of your religions and ideologies have told you that you have all the power available to you that anyone who's ever existed, but you don't always accept that. And so as you go through your life, it has to be a conscious effort on your part to say, yes, I am worth something. I have value. And the reason we're saying this is because we gave you a message the other day that said you were ignorant. We said you were all ignorant. But we did that for a reason. Because see, that word, and as we said in the message, you can go back and look at it, we said all of this. We told you to look up the definition of those two words of ignorance and systemic. We want you to understand this, ignorance and systemic. As you move through your life, through your world, again, remembering you're an eternal spirit, so you've been here. You have access to all the information that has ever been from anyone. In the beginning, we told you have the very first message we gave you was infinite intelligence to get you open to the idea that you have access to all the information that has ever existed. You each have that, but you sometimes make yourselves less than others. That's why we gave you the story about the cat. That's why we had Roger do the quiz about the cat. You couldn't figure out which one was better without your personal preferences, you see. And now you understand that's what you've done in your life. You've made yourself wrong or not enough or something because of something you did not understand. Something you did not, that's what we wanted to say this. We had them yesterday, another thing popped up on the screen which said, Roger, please post that. About now is the time for you to practice rigorous self-forgiveness. This is why you're here. See, you've accepted things from the past, from all those who've come before. More importantly, at this time, this particular transition, you've accepted them from your ancestors. And you're here to break generational beliefs in lack and not enoughness and inferiority. You can see it happening all over the world. But now you have to look at why it's happening within you. Because there's a part of you that has not accepted your importance. It would have to be. because you never come to understand that until you, as you mature, you come to understand it a bit more at a time. But then you really don't come, usually we will say, most of you don't come to understand it as you get a little bit older, and then the spiritual side starts to take hold. But there's something different occurring in your world, and each of you have seen it. There are young people coming in now who already know this. How do you think that occurred? It's because of you. It's because of what you've been willing to move through. So when you look at your lives and you think about the things that you've moved through and you've understood and come to heal in some way, that's in the ethers, that's in the collective. You've done something great, but then you don't talk about it. And we told Roger this the other day because he didn't talk about it. And you're all coming to the place when you're walking in your life purpose, that means that you're owning every part of you, whatever that might have been, whatever experience you've had, whatever difficulty, challenge, or whatever. So we told Roger the reason that he didn't know he had ADHD. We want to talk about this because many of you have these little conditions that you think are somehow horrible, and you've judged them. No, you came into the world to heal them. You came into the world to understand them and transform them into something new. Now, and then we talked about this quite a bit because he thought, wow, if I had known that my entire life, maybe things would have been different. No, it wouldn't have been different. He had to move through his life not knowing that to get to this place now, to understand that that's what he had, so he could get corrected, do his therapy or medications or whatever you might do to correct that. And then you find out, oh, that was purposeful. See, because he has this belief, as many of you do, and we're going to talk about this because we want you to hear it. You think you're an imposter. We've talked about the imposter syndrome, and so many of you have that one going on, and it's just a load of crap. It's something you made up to give yourself another excuse for not owning every aspect of yourself. That's all. And now you're meant to own that, because the world needs you to do that. It's not just you. This is not just, it's never been just about you. It's about the collective, always. You just don't have an awareness of that. But in this particular transfiguration of your world and what you're attempting to create, you must, and we're going to say that because we really want you to feel the pressure of that, you must begin to own yourself. You must begin to love yourself a lot more. From when we began these talks, if you go back, to those of you who had been here before, we said that the purpose of them was to help you move beyond fear and doubt, because those are the only things that hold you back. Or the main things, we should say. You come up with others along the way, but those are the mains, fear and doubt. And we said the fear was purposeful and necessary. That's what we said. Fear was necessary because otherwise some of you wouldn't move. You wouldn't do anything unless you felt this motivation. Now, that is not your fault, because we said ignorance is systemic. That's why we gave you that. So we don't want you to judge yourself for not knowing how powerful you are, because you wanted to experience it now. You wanted to awaken that now, because if you do that, then the world that we want to see will start to manifest. And we told you the other day, we said, okay, in your moment of now, you create everything. And the more you can remember that, you start to create a different life. Because a lot of times you're sitting in your moment of now and wasting it because you're worrying about what could happen in the future if you don't do something or something doesn't come about. Or you're regretting what happened in the past. That's why we told you, please practice the forgiveness, because you don't understand what you did. What you did, you agreed to go through some trauma. You agreed to accept some difficulties and move through them so you could release them from your perceived karma. We say that because we don't believe you have that. You have some dharma. That means that you have things that you agreed to, you were going to do. But you've interpreted this sometimes as you're being punished. No, you were heroes. You are the heroes. You accepted these challenging positions and lives, and wow. And so then we did something else. We had Roger set up 2 appointments today because we want to talk about this. Because he doesn't typically do that when he's going to do a conversation with us. And we said, okay, you have an appointment with your physical therapist, and then you have an appointment with the podiatrist. To see, these are the things that have been his issues. He's healed so many things in his life, and we've told him. You came to marry science and spirituality and human development. So he had to work with all of those. But then he was still not willing to own it all. So today he went to his physical therapist, and last week he was even showing them things that they didn't know. I mean, it's been really helpful, but he knows that that's not his physical therapy. It's never what's going on. It's about him getting out of the way so that his body adjusts. Each of you will have these things going on in your bodies right now. You might be experiencing many strange physical symptoms. That's because it's trying to break you out of this physical self that you've been holding on to, the rigidness that we said in the message that you've had. And so when you start to become more fluid and let go of all of that, your body starts to respond. And so then we sent him to his other doctor. Right after that, he had another appointment with the podiatrist. He's always had trouble walking on his feet. That's why we keep talking about that problem. You each have that to a degree, standing in your power, standing on your own 2 feet, becoming autonomous, holding on to everything who you are. And that's where you are right now. And so when he went to his doctor, the podiatrist, he said, well, I developed this other problem because you gave me these things and I paid all this money for them. But then we sent Roger somewhere else. We said, okay, now this is the real solution. And then he told his doctor, this is the real solution. But together they came up with something else. They came up with a collaborative solution. And we're saying that, and we gave you that story for you to understand what's going on in your world right now. You came to find a collaborative solution to your world's trauma, to your world's difficulty. And each of you accepted your part to aid in that. And the way that you aid in that is that you get out of your way and you start owning who you are. And we said that your new life is about to begin, and we said it was going to start happening now. And we wanted to do this talk today before the major event that most people will speak on tomorrow because of the dates and the numerology and all of the energy and the planets and all of that. It's all true. It's all there. But we wanted you to be prepared now. We wanted you to start looking at this so you can forgive yourself and let go of all the crap you've been saying. And the disbelief. We had to take Roger through this disbelief, and we told him the other day, and he's had trouble with it, and he still has trouble with it. He didn't understand the value of what he had. And so we said, you have somebody help you. You each need that at times. He knows that he can look at you, and many of you have seen this. He said it. He can look at you and see your probable realities or your probable futures. And we're saying probable because you have free will. So you never have to do anything other than what you choose to do. And we can tell you what your probability is, but that doesn't mean you're going to do it. Roger said we had to calm him down because he kept trying to think, why are people coming? Why are people signing up to listen to this? I want them to know this information. Why aren't they enrolling in the program? I want them to know this information. We go, you don't need that. You only need one person. He said, stop worrying about that. Everybody will find their way when they're ready. But we say, well, you've got to stop. You have to stop. We're speaking on this, and hopefully he will hear this at some point, because he is a perfect example of what's happened. He came into the program, and you could see that he just had all of this knowledge and wisdom that was just withheld, and it just poured through. And that could be the most important thing. Well, there's several of them because there's many more, but we're just bringing one example. But Roger can see that, and we can be a little bit, we want to be a little bit morbid here because some of you are so afraid of this. But we say, no, Roger could die right now and he'd be fine. He could be okay because he knows that he's implanted so much into so many people. And just in this last couple of months, that would change your world. Why do you think you don't have that ability? Why would you think that certain people have given all this enormous power and you don't have it? You have it. Now, the important part is to understand what's happening in the world. The energies have changed, and there's all sorts of scientific evidence that would show how the energies of the world have changed because of your planets and stars and everything else and galaxies. All of that have shifted, and they've done it consistently over the existence of your world. You don't know that. You've never experienced that. But we will tell you that you're here now because you wanted to. That's why he said it in the message. You're thinking in all these things that have happened in your fear and your COVID and all of those things are just terrible things that were forced upon you. No, they weren't. They were things that you wanted to experience because when you moved through them, this is why we wrote the book about overcoming fear, The Guide to Freedom. That title wasn't accidental. Because when you move through your fear, you're free. That's what happens. But it's a process. And so we want you to enjoy the process. And we're saying that because we're going to be a little bit lighter about it, because you've been so heavy on yourself. You've judged yourself. You thought you've done all this stuff wrong. Never. You're moving into a new age in your world, as we've said continuously. And the only way that that happens, however, is for you to own who you are. In our program, we gave you several different things, and we can explain it. Roger can really explain it now because you each will do this, and we've given you a message about this. We said you will begin to hear faster. We wanted to use that terminology so that you kind of get it, because you've always been able to hear your higher self, and all that. You just don't interpret it and then decide to use it. Roger's very aware that when he's in this state, when he's allowing us to come through, there's no judgment. He can see everything about each of you in this state. And then when he comes out of it, he's back to his old self. And he still has his things that he has to work through. You each have that. But then you move into different dimensions, so to speak. And as you move into a different dimension, you start to see things a little bit differently. You start to understand some of your challenges. And then as you begin to understand, you start to understand others. See how this works? That's the progression that you each are moving through right now. And as you awaken to that, and we've taken Roger through many of these places, which were uncomfortable and fearful, but we said you have to do that because otherwise you cannot fulfill what you came to do. Because we told you about the dream he had in 2005 where he ran away. We said that to each of you because there's a part of you that you ran away from yourself. That's why you're listening to us. You're not going to do that anymore. If you really want your life that you said, because we're saying that you would not do that now because your world is more conducive to your development, to your growth. But it's dependent on you. That's why we told you today it's perfect because you're at a standstill. There'll be movement later today. There'll be some movement later today and you'll see it. And then as of tomorrow, there'll be further movement where it'll ease some of your fears. But come March, oh wow, then you'll really see it. And then you'll start to say, oh, I'm okay. That's why we said to you that fear was necessary and unwarranted. There's nothing for you to be fearful of because you already had everything. When you were born, you had everything within you. And again, we're saying this because you've heard this from every single person you've studied, religion, spirituality, but then you make it so that somehow not all of that is correct. We're going to tell you what we mean about that. The divisions that you're seeing now is that you all want to be right about something. And you are. You are. Each of you are right about whatever was within you that you were meant to figure out, develop, and all of that. And as we've said, you came and you decided to have a pandemic, this particular one, because you've done many of them throughout the history. You decided to have this one to shift the balance because it coincided with the movements of your world. So what better thing than to have a pandemic, a global pandemic? And we keep saying global because you don't seem to understand that this event is much larger than anything that you might have known or experienced in your recent history. But it is now more inclusive of your entire world, and you're going to incorporate all of that. But your influence now is so powerful. And we've given it to you forever. We're saying this because you each have, there's an element that many of you have where you're beating yourselves up because you think, I have this thing that I've not been able to change. I keep repeating this pattern. I keep bringing up this difficulty again. I haven't moved through that. Well, you will now. If you believe us, you will. Because if we're saying that your belief is what is going to have you accept your new life and get your new life ready to begin. You have to form your belief. And it's difficult because you're so used to having things being solid. Because that's what you came from. That's all you've known. But there's so much more. And the other thing that we had Roger to look at, and he holds things back, and we're going to have fun with this because it's so typical of him. We said, now go back and look at your life operating instructions. And you will see that in pretty much every message that we gave you, we talked about your physical body. We said, why did we say that? We wanted you to make a distinction. You come into the world, your spirit, your eternal spirit, you come into the world, you choose a body. You say, this is the one I'm going to use. It's going to give me all this stuff to work through. It's going to give me this judgment. I'm going to think it's ugly. I'm going to think it has problems. I'm going to think all of that stuff. I'm going to allow it to have diseases and injuries and difficulties, and then I'm going to heal them. And then I'm going to know, going through those experiences, oh, I wasn't my body. We love that one. The Course in Miracles gave you that. And you understand, what did that mean? You are not your body, because you're your spirit, you're your soul. And we said in your life operating instructions, you'll see this soon because we said it, you come here to use your body to develop your soul. Everything that you're doing, the way that you've chosen to look at your vaccines, the way that you've chosen to think about disease or illness within yourself or self-healing. And none of you are going to do it the same way. That's why we said you're unique and the same. The sameness is you moving on your limitations, but the uniqueness is needed. Some of you think that, the vaccines are terrible. That's the part that you're supposed to work with and figure out how you can offer a solution that's going to bring your world together. Some of you have been more involved in science. Roger had to do that because his life led him there because he came in with difficulties there, but he also knows now because he was able to heal those things that he needs to give that back. And the one thing we had him do the other day was to talk about his cluster headaches. Because see, that was one thing. You each have this. You've done some amazing things, but you're somewhat embarrassed about them, so you don't talk about them. When we sent him to his physical therapist this morning, we told you we wanted this to make sense for you. And so he said, today we're going to work on my shoulder too. But he's known that what that has been about, not willing to embrace. See that movement, not willing to embrace every aspect of him. He's known that. But then when he's working with the therapist, she says to him, oh yeah, I had a problem. I had an injury with my shoulder many, many years ago. That's what got me into doing this work. Did you hear that? Each of you have done that. We've said to many of you, you're very intuitive. We're speaking about some people we've spoken to in private meetings that we come through Roger. And we say, you're very intuitive. And they say, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. You each are. None of you would be doing the particular careers. You wouldn't have been moved to do that unless you followed your intuition in some way. Now, sometimes you don't listen to it anymore and you stay in situations that are not serving your purpose or serving your evolvement. You've done that. And that's when you feel miserable, depressed, and sad. And then you decide, oh, wait a minute, I'm worth more now, and I'm going to move out of that. That's what your world is doing right now. So we want you to pay attention to that. And that is the struggle. The struggle is those who had power, who had all this power, they thought, perceived power because it really wasn't, but they used what they thought of in the material sense as power to cause them to feel important, to feel more meaningful. And then the rest of you, you didn't have any power. You weren't willing to accept it. You thought you weren't enough. And so you didn't allow yourself to have money. That's why we keep talking about it. You did it. You wouldn't, or you made it difficult or challenging, whatever it might have been. But you did that so you could actualize now. And that's why we said your new life is ready to begin. And if you, in the moment you start to accept that, you will see changes. And many of you have already done that because you've told us. You've told us of all the things that are happening now in your life that you didn't understand. And it would just seem like a miracle that these things were coming about. It was not. And the Course of Miracles also told you that miracles are natural. They're just naturally occurring events that you decide to notice at a particular time in your life whenever you're ready to acknowledge who you are. And as you listen to this again, which we would advise, you will hear more and it'll make more sense to you. And especially in the coming days, because you're going to see more upheaval. Again, when we talk about things that you can, as humans, can relate to in terms of interpretations of astrology and all that, it gives you a little more comfort as to what might be happening in your world. You've each moved through, and we're just going to use another astrological term so you can think of it, because we had Roger hear this yesterday, as a matter of fact. When you think of your Saturn return, you each have had that at certain times in your life. Now, you wonder why at around when you got up to 30 years old, remember that? Or some of you might not have gotten there yet, but when you got to 30 years old, you start thinking, who am I? What am I going to do? Is this the right place? You started questioning. Those are cycles that are built into human existence that you start to experience, and it's a universal thing. Exactly like your astrological signs. You weren't born at a time that was accidental. No, you did that because you wanted the energies that were associated with all the configurations of your particular astrological chart that would help your journey this time, that would help this particular physical existence that you chose to have. And it was purposeful, and it was wonderful at every aspect of it. And when you look at those distinctions that they've made about your particular sign, and you start to notice them, you say, oh, wow, yeah, that's me. Oh, that's my difficulty, whatever it is. But the point is, you will use, each of you use things to give you confirmation, you see. When you see confirmation that exists in the external, then you start to believe what is always internal. Your life is experience in your thinking. You think it's out there in the world. It's not. You live in your consciousness. That's where you experience everything, which is why we have you reinterpret it all, because you formed beliefs that have held you back. You formed beliefs that are erroneous beliefs, as we used the other day, where you were not enough, or you thought that the experiences, the things that you meant to or moving through were punishment, which they were not. They were things that you decided to give the world. We're going to change everything around for you to understand this. And we gave you a lot of that in the program. Everything. We gave you your story. And that was the one that we used it last time. We want you to truly understand that. We said your story is unique. We keep using unique because you keep trying to fit into something, some ideal of a person or something that does not exist. You came to do something new. Now, to tell you how we put this together, we wanted you to understand, as we said many times, we wanted you to understand the principles of individuation and differentiation. Because you only come to understand certain things in a scientific way as humans evolve. You've done that over and over again. And as every civilization, humans evolve, you come up with new stuff, technologies, inventions, discoveries, and then your world looks very different. But sometimes you come into the world and you believe, you accept the idea that, wait a minute, I'm not the one to do this. It couldn't be me. I couldn't have that. We told you in the very beginning, yes, you do, because everyone has access to it. You just have to decide to change your mind. And the reason we talked about systemic ignorance is so that you would open yourself to understanding it's not completely your fault. Ignorance only means that you don't know something, that you don't have that information. It is not a negative thing. But if you make it negative, then you won't open up to receiving, you see, which is again why we said the more you know, the less you understand. Because if you think you know, you've become rigid. You think this is who I am. I'm this terrible, worthless person, and this is never going to change. How do you know that? Who made that decision for you? You did that. But we want you to feel this, because you each have done such marvelous things. And we know that some of you are listening to that and say, that doesn't sound right. I think I did terrible things. I screwed up so much. And we're saying, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You did it all at the right time. That's why you're listening to us. That's why you're hearing it now, so that you can start to mentally make this change. We told you the reason that we did this in our work was to put together a way for you to change your thinking, your brain every day. Cognitive behavior training was not developed years ago. None of you knew that. So it's now you're supposed to take it further. You're meant to develop it and give it to others, because then your world gets easier. You're doing everything now to leave your legacy so your world is easier for those who come later. Each of you, there's no one who's separate from that. And you'll come to understand it. We've got so many things that we know cause shock to many of you, but we want you to completely understand that. Some time ago, we said, when people say, well, Hitler didn't go to hell. And you think, oh, wait a minute. Oh, no. You need people, you need images, you need people to exemplify, to demonstrate what you're not, so that you can choose to be who you are. And so when you look at certain personalities as historical figures and you want to judge them and all of that, just understand that they still served a purpose, because none of you would know your humanity. None of you would know empathy unless you've had those others who didn't exhibit it, you see? And that's what you're doing now. And again, we've also said to you that you have been all of those people in some way. And that's probably why you're having trouble now letting go of that, but you're meant to. You have shame, you have guilt, and embarrassment from things that sometimes you don't even understand. But that's okay, because we're going to keep telling you. You accepted those things because you wanted to move through them, because when you do, you're going to feel great. And we know that because we've taken Roger to it. He got to this place where he said, oh, wait a minute, I'm not worried about that stuff anymore. What is more important is helping others to come to where they are, helping others to know their importance in the world. Because see, he came up with this crazy idea. And we told him, you're going to do this. We want you to hear this, because we made him send out something where he made a statement. He said, I'm making this statement about my life. And we're setting it up. It's all in place. He said, wait a minute, if I can have more and more people become empowered and know who they are and do the loving things that they came into the world to, if more and more people would do that, do you mean that that would cause the change in the world that none of us believed we could do? And we said, yes. And as delusional as that may seem to you, because you thought these things in your mind were delusional, they are not. It's just about you deciding that you're going to own it. It's just about you deciding that, oh, that could be true. You create your reality in every single way. And you do that through your thoughts. That's why we told you the power that you've been seeking is within you, always. Several years ago, we gave you a message that said love, power, money, and control. Those are the things that your civilizations are always moving through, and you use them to constrain or free one another, but it's always within you. You're never fighting anyone out there. You're only battling within yourself. The enemy is within. All these things, why do you think they stay around, those sayings? Because they're really true. It's not an enemy necessarily, but it's something that you have not become comfortable with. And you do that because, again, when you move into unknown, you become frightened. And this period in your time, it would make sense that so many of you have been frightened through this period. And that's why we wanted to do this talk, especially before tomorrow. In the next several days, actually, you'll see things will start to shift. However, there will be so much else that you will see. The other part of uncovering anything is being willing to look at the old. You have to look at it. All your experiences gave you value. You're not supposed to stay in your past. You're not supposed to live there, but you are meant to extract the value that you have gained from everything that you've moved through so that you can own your value now. Because when you do that, then you'll have the money. And we're talking about that. We're going to keep bringing it up because we want, some of you have been uncomfortable with speaking on that subject. And we've said this, we took you back years ago where we said Roger has a problem. He's never going to talk about that. And the reason is because he knew that he could not allow himself to be fully prosperous, and this is true for all of you, until he decided that he was going to accept what he knew he was here to do. And that's true for each of you. This is why he does the work that he does. This is why we told him you have to do life purpose work, because everybody has it. And we want them to understand it, because if they understand it, then that world that you all want to see will become manifest. And the purpose of this restructuring will be fulfilled. The restructuring, think about that. We've used that name. You'll hear many other teachers and speakers and spiritual guides and whoever use different terminology to speak on this subject, but it's all the same. It means a reconfiguration, a changing of what was, a breaking down of the old paradigm so you can go into something new. Each of you are doing that. And it will become comfortable. We're telling you. This is why we always gave you the story. We use Will Smith of jumping out of the helicopter, skydiving. They think of the most fearful thing, but the most fearful thing that any of you are doing, and we've said this, is you're fearing yourself. You're fearing your gift because you don't think it's valid. You don't think it's important. You don't think it's enough. And it is. Every single one of you. The essence of you is so important. And there are plenty of examples out there that you would see this, because the only thing that happens as you move through your life, you start to make these distinctions and judgments about yourself, which again, that's why we said, if you understood individuation, you would never do that, because no one's supposed to be like you. There's no model for you to follow. Your model is inside. It's within you. But you have to be willing to own that. And you have to be willing to just love yourself. And the only way you're going to do it is when you start to say, wait a minute, I made an inaccurate assessment of all the stuff that happened in my life. I didn't understand I was creating value. I didn't know that I was moving through all these challenges so that others would have a better time. And now I deserve to be rewarded because I did that. Not punished, rewarded. And each of you will do that because that's the energy of your world now. It's not accidental that you decided to plan your life to be alive during your planet, your world moving into the Aquarian age, which you've all known of in some form forever. But now you're going to make it real. Now you're going to allow it to come in. And the only way you're going to do that is when you start accepting yourself. The most important thing you can do through this period is just work on self-forgiveness and self-acceptance. If you did nothing else but that in your meditation, just stay in that place, understanding that everything you've done has brought you to this momentous time in your life and in that of your world, where if you were to say, I'm worth it, manifestations will begin to happen all around you. But it is a matter of you believing. And see, we can sit here now in this moment, in this particular moment in your world, and we know that if we could get more of you to say, okay, let's focus on Russia and the US, and let's just see let's just see that working out well. Let's see that working out well. We can do it in this moment, and then by the time we're done, and if we bring more people into it, we're going to see something different. Oh, wow. And now our world didn't implode. So you don't believe you have that power, but you will. You will come to understand that. You will come to see what you have within you that's always been there. This is nothing new. And many of you have felt that. And you felt, we're going to talk about it, because you felt this little dance that you've been going through, and it's been alone. You felt that I'm alone. And I'm trying to hold on to this idea of this thing I'm supposed to do, but I'm suffering and I'm afraid, and I'm not sure it's going to work. It will. Because you're going to keep hearing us. You're going to keep remembering us saying this to you. And then as we keep doing this, it gets stronger, because what happens, see, it gets stronger for Roger. We're talking about this in this way because we truly want you to understand what you have within you. And as he gets embarrassed, you all have to become a lot more vulnerable, you see. But he said, no, I know that part of my role is to show people, to explain, is to talk about this process of ascending or becoming more, the different dimensions, because if you move through that, then you're meant to give it back to others. If you are not judging your process, if you're not judging how you got there. It's really, really simple, but it ain't easy. What we're talking about, simple, is self-actualization. And we gave you something so long ago, and we said the biggest irony of life, and you're moving through it now, and it's a little more challenging for you to see this, but you will, because that's why you're here. The irony of life is that you go through your life, move through your life, trying to do all these things, looking at all these examples, finding all these other people that you're going to follow, all these things that you think you're going to do, only to get to the end of your life to discover, oh, I was only trying to be myself. Each of you. That's what you come to. We've talked about this often. We said we had Roger go back and do a study to see what those on their deathbeds might say. It was never about how much, I wish I'd had more money. They know they're not taking that with them. It wasn't that. They wanted to feel that they'd left something behind. They wanted to feel that they mattered. And that's what you each are doing now, but you have to get out of your own way. And the way that you do that is by deciding to move, by deciding to do something. We told Roger he still has trouble. You each need help with this, and that's a cooperative thing. That's brilliance for you to do that. He knows. We talked about the price of his course, for instance, and so all these other people come to him and say, "Why are you doing this?" And so he says, "Okay, I need somebody else to put this together because I've never cared about that. What I cared about is, am I giving something of value to others?" You each do work in different ways, but he's always known this about himself. So it still was a challenge for him with that. So we have someone that he's going to meet with tomorrow, and they will know how to set this up for him to move him out of his way. That's what our program does with each of you. You have to recognize when you still have a difficulty, a challenge within you that you haven't been able to move through. Why aren't you getting help? Why aren't you accepting the help? You each are meant to do that, but you judge yourself because you said it never worked before. I've never done this. I can't do it now. That's what you've done. Or I did this before and it never happened. We will say again, you're in a new place. You're in a new world. Nothing is the same. You are not the same, but you've got to start to accept that. And we're going to keep working with you on that because if we could tell you how long, we have told you how long it took Roger before he could come to where he would allow us to come through and he can see all of his life, you can actually do you a timeline to see every place where he resisted it. And we told you in 1987, that was a place where he came about where he could have maybe moved into a little bit of acceptance, but it's felt too weird. Some of you have done that too. Felt too strange. So he waited and he just went into resistance. Every problem, difficulty, most of your problems and challenges and difficulties that you experience in your life are because you are resisting becoming yourself or owning what you've been given. And it is okay because it's a process. It never matters how long it takes because you always get there. This is why we gave you all the messages that said your success is inevitable. It has to be because you set it up. You just make it more difficult because of your fear and resistance. That's all. And doubt. That's why we said that those are the things we're going to work on. Our program works on that all the way through. That's it. And holding your hand as you're getting to where you want to go. And the thing that you must understand, some of you have this idea that you have to do it completely by yourself. You are doing it by yourself, but this is a period where you wanted help, that you wanted to collaborate with others to cause it to go further, because that causes a synergy that makes the movement in your planet much larger, which it's doing now anyhow, but you just have to agree to go with it. If you've ever wanted to understand the meaning and feeling of go with the flow, please do it now, because you're going to incorporate that over the next several months of your life. It's going to be so much easier if you just begin to become willing to accept your importance. Because we're going to keep talking about it because we can see it. And we've always seen it. And we said, that's what we said all the time. We can never see anything wrong with you. And you understand, you can't understand why we can say that. Because see, we showed Roger the bigger picture, which we've talked of often in some of our writings. We make jokes about it. We call it the fairy tale because many of you don't believe. But we've shown him this grander picture, if you will, of what is happening. And so he's very clear of this change, and he's very clear that we're sitting at a place where unless he moves and more of you move, that we don't have the world that we want to see. But he's also clear that if he keeps going and if you keep going, that you will have that. So it's just an individual choice and a collective one that you're making, and you will understand that. Well, we will tell you your fear was necessary, but ultimately unwarranted. You'll see. We have given you what we wanted today because we really want you to have time to absorb this and also spend so much time, concentrated effort, time. And many of you have that today, especially in the United States. You have that forgiving yourself. Just do nothing else. Forgive yourself. Understand you did nothing wrong. You were figuring out where you were going. You wanted to do it so you could be here at this time in your world's history. And now you have a choice. You're going to decide whether or not you're going to embody who you are and move on, continue on your path of self-actualization, or you're going to keep holding yourself back. Those are the choices that you're going to make. We told you you're going to have to make a choice, right? We said that a long time in many of our sessions. We said you're going to come to make a choice. And this period in your world is providing you with that opportunity. And the choice that you will make, and the one that will be the most beneficial, is to decide to love yourself. It's going to be all. We would like to open it up for questions and anything that you would like to discuss, further clarification, any insights that you have gained, anything that comes through for you.
Okay, just in case you are new to this space, I am going to invite all of you to come in as a panelist. You're going to get the invitation momentarily, and you'll have the opportunity to raise your hand and ask your question. After I call on you, these invitations are going out now.
There are a few of you who have been working on something, and it's in a field. It's in an established field that you've been doing this. But you thought yours was weird. You thought yours wasn't enough. And you thought yours wasn't as important or as effective. Stop that. That's not true. The world was waiting for you to add your essence to it. That's the only reason you're here. But you keep denying it and thinking it's not quite enough, or it's again because you're looking for some model to exist that doesn't exist, because the world was waiting for you to do it. Okay.
Alrighty, who had a question? Aha, Karen. Oh, Karen, you are currently muted. Oh, let me make sure that you're allowed
There.
to.
Can you
There
hear
we
me
go.
now?
Yes, we can hear you
Okay,
perfectly.
sorry. Push this touch screen and I always mess up because I have giant fingers. Anyway, the reason I wanted to comment was because about 3 months ago, I made a decision about my life and realized that I can't keep living my life the way I am. I just can't do it anymore. And in essence, I don't want to become my mother, which is inevitable. But anyway, so I decided to go start counseling. And so I talked to a counselor last week. We're starting counseling this week. And I'm very excited about that because, and everything that Wilhelm was saying today through Roger, really, it just was like, okay, yep, it ticked all the boxes. Yep, I've done this, I'm doing that, I'm I keep doing this, all those things that he was talking about were just like he was talking to me. And I just wanted to say thank you for that, because it's thanks to Wilhelm and Roger that I'm actually making these decisions. And that's very appreciated.
You're bringing us to tears because you were you were the ones that we told. We gave you the example of the physical therapist for you. But see, this is the part, each of you have had experiences and you've moved through things that you judge as being terrible or wrong, and then you didn't understand what you did. And now you have that to give back to others, and you're doing it in exactly the right way. You're going into exactly the field that you were meant to do. And so we are so appreciative and thankful. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. Terry, you're up next.
It's really funny because, we're all such different people, but Roger's words feel personal and Wilhelm's words feel personal, maybe to each of us here and certainly to me, because, talking about physical therapy, I went and saw a new massage person who I haven't done anything about looking after myself for ages and made that change, but it changes everything. And when things, you don't know how different you can be because you've never experienced anything different. So it's kind of opening up to something changing. And also, for one of the first times in my life, I put myself first to, look after my allergy issues. And I saw this new doctor for that yesterday as well. And my daughter has anorexia and he says, well, I can help her too. And the way he's talking about that, it invigorated a whole lot more, because I want to do something about helping people with anorexia, because what happens doesn't work. And this new person is another really, I think, potentially powerful person to add to our team because of his perspective. But that's just because I made the decision to look after myself first.
Yes.
And that's, doing that, part of the impetus is what Roger and Wilhelm are saying. It changes our perspective on the world and what we need to do. And then things just open up in a way you never expected.
Well, thank you so much. None of you understand the impact that you can have on the world. And we set this up again to give you another example. Roger was at the party the other night and he's speaking to several people and they said, we don't read Wilhelm's messages all the time, but when we do, somehow it seems that it's right for us. It's made for us. And we hear it. And these are different people saying that. Roger never understood that. He never accepted it and can never explain it to you. You each have that. And this is the part that we want you to trust, because it's this, we gave you something in your life operating instructions about blind faith. We said that because that's what we want you to have now, because it is blind. You can't see where you're going. You just feel it. It's an internal thing. That's your spirit. And so when you act on that, it starts to show up. It starts to give you validation. I was so pleased. And the reason that we are so excited, Roger's so excited, we've known this, but it's just him. He's very aware of that because we told him. The more people who actualize, you will see it start to just blossom and take over. But you have to first accept that with yourself. And this is, again, why we went through our first conversation, always talking about moving through fear and doubt. And he was the one who had to do that so he could be here to help aid all of you. But now each of you are doing the same thing. And that's what's so thrilling. And we thank you. One more. We want to say, you, again, yes, You brought in a new awareness to a tradition of something that has been done in different ways, but it wasn't fulfilled. And your energy now, because of your life lived experience, is bringing something new to it. That's what each of you are doing if you don't doubt where you're going.
Okay, Tank, you're next.
First of all, sending my love to everyone here, all my fellow brothers and sisters, my fellow oneness. I've been smiling through it all, and just been going through my whole life. I connected with Roger, going back a bit ago on Facebook, and I know since I've been going through my awakening, I've been coming across fellow magicians, because I call us all magicians in life. We all have magic within us, only until we wake up to it and live it out. And I knew the time was right when I connected with certain people, and I put them into my back pocket. So I knew when the time was right to appear again. And I know I'm exactly where I'm meant to be at this moment in time. So it's beautiful to be here. And I look forward to working with Roger and William, because I know it's going to help me as I go forward, because I know I'm here as a spiritual teacher, and that's where I'm going. And I'm looking forward to come here forward. And I've nothing but love in my heart. And it's a blessing to be finally here after nearly 39 years, and just have love in my heart. And I know there's other stuff to probably come up, but let it come up. Beautiful to be here.
Did you understand the importance of magic?
I do. And
Yeah.
I'm all about magic. I love magic.
You went through so much. You went through those challenges and those difficulties, and you were attracted to magic because the magic would give you more information of what you were here to do in your purpose. And your purpose was to show that in an instant you could change your mind and take magic and make your life something different, no matter what you went through. And you're coming to understand that now in a really powerful way. And as you said, and you know this, you're doing it at exactly the right time. We're so appreciative.
Tank, thank you so much, my friend.
Hmm.
Anyone else have a question, comment, anything they would like to share, any takeaways? Brian, I see you moving closer to the camera. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
You hear me? Okay. No, I just not so much a question, but the journey. I had the show last night, so I was a little bit tired today. But all the things that always the fear and doubt and the voices in my head, and the wondering if am I gonna remember the words, or am I going to be in sync? Is the audience gonna like me? I just kind of shut it down, and it was everyone loved the show, and I actually had enjoyed doing it, and I didn't have to really think so much about it because it just came out of me. So just briefly, the show is sort of like me being back in Las Vegas. So I'm sort of channeling Sammy Davis and Frank Sinatra and that whole thing. It makes it kind of interesting. So people really don't know if I really met Sammy and Peter and Dean and all of them. So it makes the whole show interesting because they don't know, because I'm so committed to it. But I think it's because I've been able to just let go of the very things that I thought I needed to make me do this were not the things I needed at all. I just needed to just be okay with me and not worry about people. So I think Roger and Wilhelm, the messages each week give me something to contemplate and to bring forward. And so it's becoming less of a challenge and much more fun.
We're glad you used the word less. Now we want to bring you back. Now, after your show yesterday, you went home and all out of the lights and out of the performance. And when you got home, how did you feel?
I felt good. I actually couldn't even, what I usually do is try to think about all the things that I could have done or should have done, or I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And I just didn't feel that way. I just felt like whatever was, and that's the way it was supposed to be.
Perfect. We wanted to bring this up because you said more, less and more and all of that, because we gave you a message, each of you, in your life operating in instructions about progression. We want you each to understand this, because you will have days where you feel, wow, I'm right where I needed to be. And I'm so aware and I know this. And then the next day, say, oh, wait a minute, something happened. I'm not quite there. No, that's okay. You're going to have that. And we're going to say, so don't expect that you're just going to just live in this one place. You're not. You're always going to be progressing. But what happens sometimes is, as this, well, right now especially, everything's moving so quickly that you will have these extreme ups and downs. And you won't understand them, and you'll start to judge yourself, but please don't. And so we're so happy that you said that you could see your progression, but you're also aware that, yeah, there's still more. There's still more that's going to keep going. And that's what we want all of you to understand. And that is what you're doing now. And that is why, as now, your new life is about ready to begin when you accept that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Sally, you're up.
Okay, hi, good morning. What hit me today was about self-love and self-forgiveness, and that if we're love and we forgive ourselves, we won't accept second best, and we'll stand up for ourselves, and that might be very hard. And I have a situation where I do have to stand up for myself now, but loving ourselves means that we only deserve the best, and we need to take steps to be sure we get that. That's my takeaway today.
Perfect. We want to thank you, because you're bringing in something else that we want to speak on. When you're in instances where you're being challenged to own who you are, challenged to own your beliefs or step into your power, whatever it is, when you understand that when you do that, it's going to be helpful for all concerned if you're looking at it from love. The love is loving yourself first, knowing that I'm doing this because I know it's a part of my essence and I have to actualize this. And I know that because of that, others will be helped because of it, because it's for them as well, because we're all one. You see, when we come to that place, you will be more willing to own what feels like opposition. It feels like you don't want to push against it. But when you come from love, which is what you're all meant to do now, that's why you're here. We know your essence. You want to do that. So the love is of you feeling like, I know I have something I'm supposed to bring to the world. It may not fit in with what everyone else is seeing right now, but I have to move through this and own it and figure it out. And if I do that, others will do it. And then we all come together in the collective, and then we create a world that we all love. And we're so grateful that you are doing your work and being willing to be the example by facing the opposition as we speak of, because that's what we've said. Sometimes you need that, each of you. That was great.
Thank you so much, Sally. I'm just going to mute your mic here. Anyone else? And it looks like we are complete.
We have a closing comment. We wanted to give you this, and we want to tell you, we want to explain this. We had Roger do the session today because tomorrow's the 22nd, and many people, as we said, will have these ideas about the importance of that. And it is very, very important because of the numerological, the energies of the numerology that's in the date. That's just an energy that's there. Regardless, it doesn't really mean anything only to humans, but it does mean something to each of you. So we had Roger do it today because we said we need you to own your leadership, because that's the thing that you put away. You see, that's the thing you put away. So we want you to own it now. So you're going to do it before the others so you can step out. But we did that because that's what you each are doing. And that's why you're here. And that is why we keep saying we've been waiting for you your entire life. And now we're thrilled that you're moving in the direction of owning who you are, because then we know that the world that we all want to see will become manifest. We love you so much, and we are complete.
Before we actually officially complete, we just got a quick little chat comment that it's already the 22nd in Australia.
There we have it. We are always on time. Thank you. Okay, I'm crying. Okay. Hello. It'll be fascinating to hear all of that. Just see where we are. I don't know. Any of you, if you have some time, check and look and see what everyone is saying about the dates and all of that. You might find something. You will find something about the numbers and the dates and as it relate to your life or what you might be going through. But I'm saying, I know that we're going into a great place if we decide to accept that, and that's what we're going to do. I thank you all so much. Okay. We'll see you soon. Thank you.